Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Monster Party.
Monster Party. Monsters. Monster.
Happy about monsters.
Oh, and I'm very happy today.
Yeah. Hey, guess what?
What?
I'm Matt Weinhold.
I'm Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James GONIS.
And we have a really great show for you this time. Oh, it's a really great topic. The topic is, I think, something that we're all kind of obsessed with.
Oh, yeah.
The topic is monster acting.
Monster acting.
Acting like a monster, acting through makeup,
Oh, yeah.
through costumes.
Oh, yeah.
And the challenges that creates.
Many challenges.
And who better to get for this topic than really the pinnacle of monster acting and of acting, of an old friend of mine. God, we've known each other forever. A lovely man, an amazing actor, and kind of a light in my life. Yeah, how about that? Yeah, that's how much you mean to me.
And who is it?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the iconic, the legendary Doug Jones. Doug Jones.
Oh,
my God.
You guys, thank you.
I can't even believe that you're here.
I am thrilled that you are here.
I can't believe you asked me. This is very, very sweet.
We should have done this years ago.
I
then.
know,
Yes.
right?
And now, obviously, you know, everybody knows you. We know you from
Everybody.
Abe Sapien from HELLBOY.
Oh, yeah.
The Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four. Pan's Labyrinth.
So creepy.
Oh my God! And
very
especially, you know, when it comes to monster acting, when I think about that movie, when I think about what you did in Pan's Labyrinth, it's almost like when I watch you act, it's like a painting.
That the character is Fauno?
I was El Fauno, the faun.
El Fauno.
And I was also the Pale Man.
That's right, the Pale Man. Yeah.
Which freaked me out.
Yeah, it's a scary, creepy. It's like something very kind of Lovecraftian out of your nightmares.
Yeah, listeners, if you haven't,
but strangely
seen it,
beautiful at the same
check it
time.
out.
That's arguably the central image of the film, I think.
Yes.
Well, it made the Pale Man made it onto a lot of magazine covers that year with what became an iconic pose of the palms out in front of the face with the eyes.
Oh, that's how I drive now.
Exactly.
And anytime a cop pulls me over, I just go, "Have you seen Pan's Labyrinth?" Well, then shut up. But now, when it comes to this kind of acting, when it comes to what you do, I'm just curious, like, what is your initial approach when you're tackling a character? Is it research? Is it the source material? Is it what you can do with your body? Is it sense memory? Is it Meisner? Is it, what is your process?
Well, you know how a lot of actors take on a role and they want to, study the person they're playing or the type of person I'm playing a bus driver. So you go interview.
Your bus driver is great, by the way.
Thank you. So you would go interview a bus driver or a retired bus driver, but when you're asked to play a blue fish man in a
Abe
comic book,
Sapien.
right?
From HELLBOY.
Demon for this.
Right, you can't go to the Fishman nursing home and talk to the old fishmen to see how they do.
Sure, right, yes.
So you do have to look to the folklore, the mythology, the source material that he has. So, and the script, of course, that Guillermo Del Toro penned himself was just a masterpiece, a great homage to the original comic books. So I had a stack of both, the comic books and the script to go home with when I was offered this. Reading the script, I got lots of information from him about him, his relationship to the other characters in the story. Then it was about I'll go to the gym. I'll go to my 24-hour fitness, the aerobics floor when the classes are done. All right, and then I'm in there crawling around, finding posture, finding a walk, a crawl, or whatever the script is called for to see if I can start feeling this out. And, of course, the guys lifting weights see me through the glass window.
What class is that?
At 2 in the morning.
It looks like it's good for your abs.
Yeah, well, when I was doing Pan's Labyrinth, I was in there practicing my fawn walk. Because I knew I was going to be up on stilts with my heels up in the air, and so I was doing a tiptoe sort of tap dance around the floor and finding my balance before I ever had a costume on, and I know that looked freaky. You got muscle guys out there on the bench press saying like, "What?" So Anyway, but the as an example of all these elements coming together, not only so I did my research with the source material and the script, and then I do my physicality, eyeballing myself to see like what might fit. But then the real thing comes when I talk to the director. What are his quirks and his vision for the character? And then you go to the creature effects shop. They've had a life cast of me. They've been sculpting on that. They make pieces based on that sculpt. They put that on my person. As that happens, that's when it's like, oh, here's what we're going to look like. Here's what my movements now that can are. If I was practicing something with my arms full straight up in the air, and then I put the suit on me, and it's like I can only go.
You can't lift him. Oh my gosh!
Okay. Now we know that there's a limitation, and the character is going to have to be altered a bit for my physicality, or enhancements like the ram horns on Pan's head in Pan's Labyrinth. A tilt of the head becomes way more dramatic.
Right.
Finger extensions, a flick of the finger becomes way more dramatic. So these are enhancements that go beyond what I can do on my own and make it bigger and better. So you find all that out through the fittings and the creature effects house time. Case in point, Matt, if I
yes, please,
would be the Hellboy movie, the first one. After reading all my after going through all this process, then now finding his final thing
for Abe Sapien.
Abe Sapien.
Right.
Fishman mutant, right?
Right.
With a clairvoyancy added to his hands. So his hands became a very important part of the character because he felt things, he saw things with his touch that the comic books didn't delve into, but the movie did then. So how do you incorporate that? So my fish tank in my office at home has goldfish in it that they make me happy, and they calm me on a stressful day,
as you do.
Yeah.
For me.
Thank you. And as Abe does to the Hellboy team, the BPRD. He's kind of a calming, intelligent factor there that makes sense of things when it's chaotic. So I thought, okay, if my fish can have, I want Abe to have the same effect. So seeing their curious heads dart around like they do, followed by a very flowy, graceful fin action, I thought, well, if my head and arms and hands can like mimic that kind of feeling and vibe, that might be good. So next time I was at the creature shop, I would put the head mask, face mask on, and the hands, the webbed fingers were. And it's like, oh, these webbed fingers are fantastic. They really add to that fin feeling. So I was looking at myself in a full-length mirror in the shop with just those two pieces on and some bike shorts, right? And
That was even.
I have that calendar. I have that calendar.
Yeah, and it's for sale in a fetish video. But anyway, but
Where?
I know. But so I was looking at this myself from head to toe and kind of practicing that head move and the flowy arms and the fin-like thing happening in the hands. And I did not know that our director, Guillermo Del Toro, had come into the shop that day. So, of course, I'm looking now. The mask, of course, I'm looking through pinholes, so I can only see straight forward.
Right.
And from across the room, I heard, "That! I like that! Keep that!" And that's all the more we ever discussed.
Really?
Abe Sapien's physicality.
That is so anti-Kubrick.
I know, right? No, exactly, totally. And no, Del Toro is one of those. Now he's a director that he gets you fanboys.
He seems like a lovely man.
Oh yeah,
He's one of you.
Yeah.
That's the idea. So he knows how to please and he knows how to make a geek-gasm happen. Right.
Yeah.
So,
I'm having one right now.
But now, it's interesting when you describe the way that you found the character of Abe Sapien doing all these kind of physical things and everything else in your process. And what makes, I think, what you do so unique and special is that now, as much as I love Star Trek, James, Star Trek was a show that started in the 60s. Anyway,
we'll save it.
We'll revisit that later. Anyway, but a lot of like what happens in some modern science fiction is that they'll just slap some makeup on someone and then like, okay, you're an alien. And it really is just a guy with a Bronx accent or whatever, an English accent, just acting the way they normally do with a bunch of latex on them
Or
and
a fake forehead.
Right, exactly. and that's what's so interesting and amazing about what you do is that you add all these layers and elements. And I'm just curious, what kind of training did you go through to get to this place?
Yeah, because I as a little kid, I wanted to be in monster movies, but and be monster things. But what I was curious as to how you got into this whole thing.
Yeah, by accident. I came out to Hollywoodland to be a sitcom star, I thought.
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah.
Still waiting, Hollywood.
Well, I grew up watching, half-hour sitcoms and how families could solve all their problems within 30 minutes and hug at the end and laugh about it. So, and then variety shows, too. I wanted to be, the Carol Burnett Show, Donnie Marie.
Yeah.
Everybody
Great shows.
When I was a kid, everybody had a variety show. So I wanted to be on one. So that's why I was headed to funny and song and dance, and then but in college I had a stint with the mime troupe called Mime Over Matter.
Oh, you did mime stuff.
I did.
Oh my God! Wait,
Mime Over Matter.
Wait, was it the white face and
the gloves?
Are you serious? Total Marcel Marceau stuff.
Yeah.
Full on hybrid of Marcel. Yeah,
This is like the era of
I saw them at Burning Man.
Shields and Yarnell.
Shields and Yarnell.
Who were very big in the 70s.
They were big in the 70s.
Huge.
They had their own...
Had a show.
It was a short.
They had their own variety show.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I knew exactly what they were talking about when I was offered this. Like, okay, I was in college as a freshman, and a senior in the dorm said, "Hey, I like the way you talk with your hands all the time. Come see one of our mime shows." And so I did, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I didn't really know much about the art form, and I had seen Shields and Yarnell, so it's like, "Oh, I can be in a mime troupe, and I can be like them."
Yeah, be a variety show.
Yeah. So I ended, but it was an art form that did take to my long, skinny frame for sure. So so when you have that skill set in your background, and you're 6'3" and you weigh 140 pounds, and you come to Hollywoodland thinking, I'm going to be a sitcom star, and a creature effects guy sees you first, it's like, you're screwed. You are just, so with the mime thing and also contortion thing on my resume, I can put my legs behind my head. Yeah.
Wow.
Can you still do that?
He's doing it now. That's how he relaxes.
Because I'm lucky I can put my shoes on in the morning.
Right, I know. Right? Touch your own knee. I know.
Yeah, I pass out sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
I passed out getting out of the chair.
So with those special skills on your resume, my commercial agent sent me out for costumed work and heavy makeups and physical tomfoolery, pratfalls, all that. So the very first thing I ever booked in my life was a Southwest Airlines commercial where I played a dancing mummy.
No!
Yeah.
A dancing
Finally, a good mummy thing.
Right.
No. I just want to say there is good mummy stuff out there.
Yes, there. I know. That's for another show.
There was Boris Karloff mummy that was awesome.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that was. I agree.
it was.
I totally agree.
That's the first horror film that Dougie ever remembers watching.
Really?
I love the very first Mummy is a good movie.
Was
You don't
Karloff
see
a
him
big-
that much as the mummy, but it's very effective when he's in his mummy
That's right.
state. His
Yes.
pure mummy state, and then
Yeah.
he becomes...
Was Karloff a big influence on you?
Because of that movie. Yes, more so than Frankenstein even.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Well, there's something about the image. When you're young and impressionable and you're staying up late on a Friday night to watch that local TV hosted show.
Oh, we know them well.
Yeah. Ours was hosted by Sammy Terry in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Cool.
And
We love horror hosts.
Oh, right. Well, he's passed away now. He was 80 something a few years ago, and I finally met him though at a convention in
cool.
Horror Hound in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Oh,
wow.
He was at the table next to me.
How great is that?
Everybody in the room, I was starstruck over my local TV.
Of course. Yeah.
Totally, right? Yeah. So anyway, but that was one of my staying up late at night with your friends and as on a sleepover.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then that movie comes on and they would cut away to Boris every so often just with his face on screen.
Yeah.
That
looking at
scary
you with those
face.
eyes. Yes. It was the eyes. Yeah. So no, I leaned toward the feel good, the funny, and the musical more so. But when I was being told out here in Hollywoodland that I'm built for creatures and monsters and things, it's like then I could do the callbacks to those early days of like, well, whatever scared me, I can channel now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Oh, and I know, speaking of like iconic characters, I know Abe Sapien from the Hellboy movies. That you had been doing some creature characters several before that, right? But it was kind of like, I mean, you had done some films before that, but Hellboy kind of really put it to another level, didn't it? I mean, as far as your kind of like your connection with the fans and everything.
I've been working under the radar for many years before that. Yeah, like in the teens of years, almost 20 years, and Hellboy was kind of put me as a little blue speck on the radar. Yeah,
but you did. But you did, so you did the Mummy, the Mummy in that commercial. But you did some other cool commercial things, didn't you?
Well, and shortly after that, I booked the Mac Tonight campaign.
That's
from McDonald's.
Yeah,
That's where I know you from.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's where I know you from.
yeah. I wore the big crescent moon head and sang at the top.
You
of
were Mac Tonight?
I was. When the clock strikes 6:30, babe. Oh, hi.
But that was it was a huge. It was
a
huge
giant campaign. Yeah.
Giant campaign.
If our listeners haven't seen, you could YouTube it.
YouTube it.
And it's amazing because your head, the moon head, is massive. And
Right.
how are you?
Yeah, you're like this like pre-Nightbreed character.
But he's friendly looking. He's
Yes, he
friendly
is.
looking.
No, and so I would argue that
Matt, I
some
love
of they
that
were
character.
too.
Yeah, I love that character.
He was
Me too.
He had a love you babe attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also played one of the most you were in one of the most popular episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I was.
Which was
The Hush episode. I
Right.
played
Oh,
the
right.
lead gentleman.
Yes,
Very
the
creepy.
Smiley.
dark, creepy, floating gentleman.
He's doing it right now. Look at that.
wow.
Okay, listen, he's doing his creepy smiley face look. It's
Yeah.
freaking me out.
I like it a lot.
That's why you're sitting closer to him.
See that's like the fish tank that calms me.
Creepy bald guys with saggy skin and a smile that will never go away.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I go downtown LA just looking for that. Yeah. Opening up cardboard boxes. No.
But Doug, it's cool that like you mentioned how Karloff was an influence because that the Universal horror films of the 30s and 40s was one of the first waves of like horror characters that you saw actors doing real monster acting in those films.
Right, exactly. And also Lon Chaney as Phantom of the
Lon
Opera
Chaney, yeah.
Well,
was.
I mean, Lon Chaney, he did pantomime stuff too. He was a very physical guy.
He was a contortionist.
We're
Yeah.
talking Lon Chaney Senior. Okay?
Lon Chaney
From the
Senior, yes.
From the silent
From the
era.
silent era.
Silent
I mean, this
yes.
is back in the day when it's a silent movie and you had to be kind of larger than life. Right. Your actions had to be pulls and stuff.
That's what I loved about his, Phantom of the Opera was that moment that's so iconic for me is when the young lady finally pulls, or Christine or whatever her name was, pulls his mask off for the first time. Like she comes up from behind him while he's playing his organ.
Yeah.
It's Mary Philbin.
Mary Philbin.
There you go. And he turns around with that horrific like grrr, face, and he obviously had some theater training because he was broader and bigger than life and yet believable. Those classics are
A true genius. And how many times that he would play somebody that was missing legs, and what he would do is he would tie his legs together to the point where it would almost just irreparably cause him harm.
You're right.
And yet would do an entire movie that way, and that was the kind of dedication that this guy had. It was amazing.
Dedication, I know.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Now we have latex and stuff, and I think that's for the best.
Or you wrap your legs
CGI.
in green and they take it away.
There you go. Yeah.
Karloff, of course, too. Once he started playing the Frankenstein's monster, there's a great deal of makeup involved there too. But it was
A lot of pain.
pathos that came through that performance, though.
Totally, yes.
Much more
Yes.
so than the later actors who played him. Because it much more became just a kind of like lumbering, kind of one-dimensional monster in the
Well,
later film.
and I had heard that the idea of what we understand now as the Frankenstein monster with the arms out, going just walking down the street and kind of stiffly, came from. Was it either Bela Lugosi
No,
or
Lon
was
Chaney
Lon
Jr.
Chaney
Lon
Jr.?
Chaney Jr.
Yeah, because he was supposed to be blind, right?
Blind, yes. And it kind of, that's the Frankenstein I think everybody kind of knows of.
Right.
And people forget about Karloff's amazing interpretation of the Frankenstein monster. He was much more mobile.
Yes. And sensitive and childlike, yet
it's sad. It's also
sad, very
and
sad.
emotional.
That's what's I love the classic monsters like that are sympathetic. Why we feel something that's like maybe not their fault.
right.
Well, it got to the point in the 40s and 50s when they started to simplify things, and monsters were just... It was this quote from Stephen King where it's like, as sophisticated as you can get about monsters, sometimes you just got to put on the mask and go booga booga. And I think in the 50s and 60s, especially with, like Robot Monster and some of the exploitation movies, they didn't really care. They didn't put a lot of feeling into it, but Now things are so much more sophisticated. There's so much more nuance, and you have to invest a character with so much more physicality because there's not any verbal output.
And we've seen those tricks before. You have to bring something new.
Yeah.
Well, I think also as far as like full body, suits and that kind of thing. Again, going back to Universal, probably one of the first full body latex monsters was the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yes.
It's kind of a turning point.
It really was. I mean, and that was like several different people played him because like Rico Browning played him underwater swimming, then Ben Chapman.
On the land.
But it was a full-fledged, fully realized kind of man in suit monster, which was one of the first of that kind.
And it's interesting. I think Riku Browning, which is amazing because he's underwater and he has to swim, and that's the creature. I mean, I just really, really love. Seeing that movie made me want to be an underwater creature.
Well, and also I would think that, are you a fan of the creature from the Black Lagoon? Like
that was another childhood on TV going, oh my gosh, yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff where you're describing with Abe Sapien and the hands and everything, that when you see Rico Browning underwater doing that swimming motion, it's so graceful. It's so beautiful.
It is, and yet terrifying. The image from that is her swimming on the surface.
Oh yeah.
Julie Adams
coming up from underneath. It's like that's everyone's terrified fear of like dark black water.
I can't swim in a lake.
Yeah.
I can't
exactly.
because of that.
Because something's under there.
No, I know that there's a hand. It's going to come up anytime. If it's either the creature or Jason, someone is going to grab my foot at some point.
But the decision to make the creature swim in a naturalistic way and a graceful way was a great one because it wasn't like obviously menacing. It wasn't like, oh, I'm a monster and I'm going to go after you.
Right. Again,
the way it actually would have swam.
There's an innocence to him because of that. Like he's just surviving like anybody else would.
Yeah, I mean,
it was curiosity. It was like yes. Yeah. It was with Julie Adams. It was very much like, what is this?
And truthfully,
you guys are entering my home.
Hey, truthfully, if Julie Adams is swimming above you, I mean, wouldn't you want to go and touch?
You
her
know
foot?
what? I would touch her foot right now.
So would I.
I would go to the wherever. Assisted living facility. I would just like, do you want me to touch your leg? Because I will, and I'll stay the night.
She's lovely. She's a lovely.
Yes, she
person.
is. And she's gorgeous to this day.
Still to this day, beautiful.
Just getting back a little bit to the Hellboy movies. Now I know that in the first Hellboy movie they had, and if you don't want to talk about this is fine because we can fix everything in post.
Well, you're about to launch into a big story.
I think so. Well, the idea of that, like where they had you dubbed in the first movie, and then in the second movie, you were dubbed.
In the first Hellboy, I was dubbed over by David Hyde Pierce. Oh, but that was not an afterthought. That was a pre-thought, and I came into it as cast in the role with them having already discussed.
You knew that. You knew that was the gig.
Right. Unfortunately, well, I knew that was a possibility.
Okay.
And I begged them, please don't do that. And because they were thinking ahead of time. Let's see. This is a makeup that is going to obliterate a known face. So to get an A-list actor to play this, you're not going to get him. So they were thinking, let's get a guy who could play this physically, and then we'll get a star name to voice over it, and then we'll get our marketing out of it, and da-da-da-da-da. So that was the plan that the execs came up with at the studio, and I walked into it going, oh, God.
Right, yeah. It's because it's like immediately someone takes credit in their minds, whether they read the casting or not, that was...
Right. So,
David Hyde Pierce.
Right, so that became a monkey on my back until this day. Thank you for bringing it up, Matt.
But I'm going into another place.
Okay. No. Well, this has a happy ending.
Yes,
this story does it?
Right.
Because when I campaigned to keep my voice in that first one, and I did ask Guillermo Del Toro to do so. And he said, "Well, you give me the sound I want, and we'll keep it. We'll put it in." Well, they actually talked about Del Toro. I'm sorry, David Hyde Pierce, Steve Buscemi, and Kevin Spacey were all names that they had. Like
Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi. No,
So I
heard. I don't know. But and then
June Foray was up for that as well.
Now June might be interesting.
And, Hervé Villachez too.
All just archive stuff. Yeah.
But my name being added to that list is like, what chance do I have? So, it made it weird though, going to work every day on a movie that I felt like I was auditioning for every day that I already had.
Sure, yeah.
It's a weird. It adds a little element, but I was brought in to do the voice looping to clean up the dialogue in post-production. I was the first one they brought in to do that, and everybody loved what I did. Del Toro himself, the studio heads, everybody loved it, but they had remembered this previous conversation of, hey, didn't you promise us a session with a name actor that we could promote? And,
right.
So they brought in David Hyde Pierce, and here's where the story gets very sweet, is when David Hyde Pierce put the earpiece to his ear and watched me on screen and heard my original performance from production in his ear, he stepped back and said, what am I doing here?
That is so nice.
I didn't know that happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Class act.
act. So he did the job he was hired to do, and I thought he did a great job.
Yes, yeah.
And but in when the movie came out in theaters, his name did not show up in the credits anywhere. Not in the main titles nor the rolling credits at the end. And he didn't do any interviews. He didn't show up at the red carpet premiere. No promotion, nothing. And when asked why, he said it's out of respect to Doug Jones.
That is so
what a classy guy.
amazing.
Yeah, no, and I would never have asked him to do that.
That
was
is
just
so great.
So
That's
sweet.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Anyway, so when Del Toro called me on the phone to tell me that this was going to happen after my voice looping session, and I felt really good about it. I need to look no further now.
Right.
Then 2 weeks later, he calls me to say, "Dog, I'm sorry to tell you, but yeah." So he said that if we get the chance, if we're blessed to do a Hellboy 2, he'll use my voice for that. So I kind of clung on to that promise. And in the meantime, then the animated movies came up. Hellboy,
Which
Sword of
I
Storm,
love.
Hellboy, Blood and Iron, and that was
So great.
Thank you. Yeah, so that was my voice in that.
We're big fans of sort of Japanese folklore and all that stuff. So we really, I just loved those films,
very good.
and you were so great in them.
You're very kind. Well,
And when we get to Hellboy 2,
yeah,
and I hear your voice, and I loved Hellboy 1.
yeah.
But Hellboy 2, with all the kind of the sort of the relationship stuff in that,
Yeah.
and I mean
It
there
was
is
bigger and
there
it was more a lot more going
and
on.
more depth to that character, and I
Yes.
just thought you were just amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, and it was really nice to have my own voice back, and I also played the Angel of Death in Hellboy
Yeah.
2.
Right.
And Del Toro was about to do that to me again when I was doing my ADR looping session to clean up dialogue for Abe Sapien. We hadn't scheduled the Angel of Death yet. And I asked him, when are we going to be doing that? He goes, I think I got a guy for that. No, you don't have a guy. I said, yeah, your guy's standing right here, okay? So
Gene Hackman wants to do it.
But you have to help them think outside your box.
Right.
And so I told him, I said, I have an idea for the Angel of Death voice, which we ended up going with, which was layers. I think I would love to hear layers of to do one pass of the Angel of Death dialogue up here, he's sort of like this, and then also another pass going down here, sort of like this. Sorry, sort of like this. Anyway, so they ran those together, and it was like that's the voice you hear in the movie.
Yeah, really, really effective,
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great, and I really love that movie. I love both those movies. I think that's such a great, and that character really is for me like kind of the heart. There's a sweet innocence yet strong character there that kind of is the connective tissue with that whole series.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, he's very book smart, but he's not very street smart. Abe Sapien, and you learn
Yeah,
that
that's
in
a good
Hellboy
one.
2 when he falls in love for the first time and acts like an idiot because of it.
Yeah.
We all did.
Yeah, and the drinking scene. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah,
I know, right?
That was really beautiful. I really enjoyed that movie.
Oh yeah, singing
Yeah.
Barry Manilow's "Can't Smile Without You" was dreamy for me. It really was.
See, now the funny thing is, I was a big fan of Barry Manilow back then. So when that song
of course
came
you
on-
were.
No, now look, maybe I'm going out on a limb here.
You are.
Well,
I
grew up
fighting
in a
you.
different time.
I'm just. You grew up in a different time.
Barry Manilow. No, I'm just saying Barry Manilow. He had great tunes. I know this is Monster Party and we're talking about monster acting, but I just want to say,
Hey, stay on subject.
Copacabana. This is. I mean, he had some great stuff.
No,
and when that song,
prolific writer.
yeah. So when that song came on, to me, it was perfect.
It was
Yes,
great.
yes.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I may be the odd man here
No, you're
about that,
not.
but I loved that
I
song.
think we're in agreement on that.
Okay,
Wait,
I just
hey,
want
you
I
know
just want
what?
to stand.
Hey,
Before you
look, I'm a metal punk guy, but I love Barry Manilow. I do.
Okay.
Mandy.
Okay. Yeah.
I had Music Express by K-Tel, and it had a Mandy on it, and I love that song.
I just don't like it when people like they jump on. Oh, and then the Barry Manilow. It's like no, that was really neat, and that worked. And actually, I got a little emotional when that scene happened.
I love that scene.
Okay, thank you.
I love that scene.
Okay, we're friends now.
No, we were totally in agreement. That was a very sweet, great scene.
And that was not at Barry Manilow's expense. That was sincere.
No,
Yes,
absolutely.
exactly.
It wasn't like that. It was right. Yeah.
Well, apparently, Barry's camp doesn't give out the songs for nothing. I mean,
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
and so he, but he wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to be making fun of him.
Totally.
So Del Toro had to kind of, promise his people, his peeps, that we were going to be respectful about this,
awesome.
and it kind of was.
They did a very good job. Great job, actually.
Yeah. But I'm just a little bit curious, Larry, about the different time that you were born in. I'd like to know what was that like?
I thought you guys
were you a newsie?
I thought you were the same age.
The theme today is monster acting. Monster.
Why are you
acting.
deflecting the question? Were you a newsie or not?
I'm just saying monster acting. It's funny. Again, like I had mentioned this, that as a kid, I always wanted to be a monster actor, but and a lot of people do. I go to conventions.
Well, what went wrong?
Hey, well, it's Doug. Tell me, it's not easy when you have all of that makeup on or that costume on. Yeah. I mean, I've heard stuff like the people who do this type of thing. I mean, it's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It is uncomfortable being in that with that makeup, and so do you need like a break every couple of minutes or like
not every couple of minutes, but
it's a very good question.
The process, what they don't tell you when you're all excited about it and you're thinking, I want to be a monster in movies. They don't tell you about the 5-hour makeup process getting into it.
Oh yeah,
it's tedious, it's tiresome, it's and especially you can't just sit back and let them apply things. So if they're working all around your body from head to toe, you have to stand, squat on a stool, whatever. So it's not peaceful. And then the cleanup at the end of the day is another 2 hours of removers.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I just did an episode of The Strain where I had 6 people around me with brushes tearing away the rubber bits at the end of the day. Took him hours.
So you got like 5 hours in the morning. Let's say even if it's 4, and you got like a couple hours at the end of the day, and then you've got like a 12-hour day or something like that.
12-hour day.
I mean, that's a long day, and that's day after day after day.
Right.
And you're often working in green screen, right?
See, it depends on the shoot, but
Does that make it more challenging because there's not much of an environment around you, or does it not make a difference?
Right. No, it does make a difference. Now, Del Toro films, he uses as much practical as he possibly can,
which I love.
Yeah, me too.
That.
Yeah,
it's like in Hellboy 2, for instance, the troll market scene was all in front of us.
So great,
so great.
So that you get to really feel your environment. Now, when I did the Silver Surfer, I did a lot in front of a green screen for that. Yes, because I was flying through buildings. I was, going through subway cars. The whole thing.
Had to.
So I did a lot of green screen. So you really have to have an imagination that takes you there. Just visualize it, and I live it, and do all your actor schmactor stuff again. Right? Yeah.
When it comes to you were talking about the amount of time it takes to put makeup on and then take it off. Now, when we go back to the days of Karloff, especially when it came to taking the makeup off,
Jack Pierce,
this makeup giant, it would be a very painful process.
That's what I've heard.
The makeup was much cruder.
It's much cruder, and I'm just curious now when it comes to taking off the makeup. Now, is it easier? Is it more copacetic, or is it?
Yes, because the pieces that you're actually wearing are just a different animal now. Back in that day, they might have done cotton balls.
With collodion.
Right, with mortician's wax and spirit gum and who knows what else they use.
Yes, right. Sean, acid. Yes.
But they might have like built the shape on him, from scratch.
Right.
Whereas I have pre-made molded pieces that fit that glue onto me much faster.
Right.
So the old black and white days, your actor might have worn stuff home and slept in it, and then come back the next day, which I've done. The Pan's Labyrinth, the Pale Man.
Oh, you went home with that?
Well, no.
Go, hi, honey.
Oh my God! I know that's so creepy.
Well, head and hands came off, but the body took so long to glue on that we just decided, you know what? It's only 4 days on this character. Let's just do.
Wow.
That Friday night shower was the nicest thing
Glorious,
I've
yeah.
ever did in my life.
Wow.
Now, another thing I've heard, like I heard Jim Carrey when he did The Grinch, he said that it was like really claustrophobic wearing all that makeup and the costume and stuff. Do you ever feel like that when you're?
That's more of a personal choice thing or a personal thing, person to person. You know, claustrophobia is something when it hits, you can't fight it.
Yeah,
it's like if when the freakout's coming, it happens.
And you freak out.
Thankfully, I've never had the claustrophobic freak out. So that's I don't know. That's not. Thankfully, that's not one issue I have.
Which is why you continue to work.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, we should hire Doug Jones because he doesn't cry on that, on that fifth day.
You know, and I heard he doesn't like to take
rats,
breaks. He
the
doesn't.
rats.
He doesn't like to take breaks. So
Yeah.
Doug, I mean, do you also like? You've done so many characters. I mean, do you like? And I mean, I know Abe Sapien you've played a couple of times now, but do you like the idea of playing different characters all the time? Because I know like there's like actors like a lot of like the slasher film icons, like Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger and Kane Hodder, who did so many Friday the 13th as Jason. They are made up too, and as these characters. But like, do you enjoy playing different people all the time? Would you like to play some of this, revisit some of your characters that you've done already?
Variety is the spice of life, of course. But so it is a new, an exciting challenge to take on a new character and discover a whole new world. But there are characters you do fall in love with that you wouldn't mind revisiting again, and Abe was absolutely one of those. Another one would be Billy Butcherson from Hocus Pocus. Right?
That's right.
Focus.
Yeah.
And there's been talk of having a 20-year later sequel where they catch up.
Giant fan base.
Giant fan. It's growing every year. Our original fans are having kids now, and they're now fans. So it's amazing the life that's. It's like the Wizard of Oz of Halloween now. It's an annual event. Yeah.
Is there any talk about another Hellboy movie?
There's always been talk.
There's always talk. There's talk about. How many meetings do we take?
You're right. No, I know. A third one absolutely wants to happen. Del Toro wants to direct another one. Ron Perlman, Selma Blair, myself, Jeffrey Tambor. We'd all love to come back and do another one. Because it does, we left you hanging. The story wants a trilogy wrap up. But it's all about. I'm not the authority on it. I'm not the spokesman for the franchise. I've been told, but it would be anyone's guess to why what the holdup has been. It's always money, usually, isn't it?
Sure.
Right.
So I would assume that there's a studio issue that needs to be worked out with somebody. So write letters to Universal Pictures. And,
I think I will, because I mean that cast is such a lovable family.
It is.
I really love that cast.
Relatable.
Selma Blair is just gorgeous and just and everybody. It's one of the few franchises for me where everybody is likable. Like I get everybody's story, and I want to know more.
And also Ron Perlman, of course. He's so good in that role as Hellboy, and also he's certainly had his great roles too, and as characters. And he played Beauty and the Beast. He was he was a main character in a TV show, and who was made up as a creature.
Right,
he was a fully fledged character in the long running show.
Did you guys ever sort of trade stories of monster actor to monster actor?
Well, we didn't have to trade many because we were right there.
Well, right there in monster, right? Yeah. But I mean, does he have his approach opposed to yours?
No, we never really broke it down. Well, because
I can imagine
when you're in the middle of a work environment like that, you're in survival mode.
Yeah, you're getting the job done,
right? So
it's not inside the actor's studio.
That's like a doctor going home from a hospital and watching ER. You wouldn't do that, right? Yeah. So we, I do remember this. Okay, so after Hellboy 1's done and been out and it's been successful, we're now coming back to start Hellboy 2, and it was 4 years between them. So we. Ron and I are it's been our first day of filming on Hellboy 2, and we were for that first day we normally have our own makeup trailers for each character, but this day we were sharing a trailer. So we had just been through a long day together, and we're getting our makeup removed, and that process, we're surrounded by people with brushes and solvents, and we're getting torn down one piece at a time, and then so. I look over and I see him, his face is now exposed, but it's got, it's shiny with oily stuff on it. And red bits that are stuck in his eyebrows. And I've got blue bits stuck in my eyebrows. And I'm also shiny from oily removers. And we're kind of going, looking at each other, and all he said to me was, 6 days a week for 6 months. Yeah, and that was our first day. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no. Yeah. Now we did have a reunion after Hellboy 2 on Sons of Anarchy. This little side note.
Oh yeah.
I guess start on in season 6 for one episode.
As Abe Sapien?
His character was in prison, and his wife on the show, Katie Seagal, came in for a conjugal visit, but it was actually to get information from him that she could take back to the Sons of Anarchy, and so she came in for this conjugal visit,
right?
And didn't. And 2 minutes later, she's knocking, going, "We're done in here." So that's when the prison guard.
Why is that weird?
Right. So the prison guards then meet them at the door saying, "Oh, no, you're not done. You're going to conjugate and we're going to watch." Oh. Yeah. Well, I was one of those prison guards.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you.
You cheeky bastard.
So you'll see me on camera beating Ron Perlman in the kneecaps with my baton until they relent and say, "Yes, we'll do this in front of you." Mm-hmm. Then my prison guard partner and I, we sit down, take our gun belts off, and put our hands in our pants while we coach them on doing each other.
Wow. Oh, wow.
It was a hideous, not the Hellboy reunion you were hoping for.
So wait a minute, let me get this straight. So what you're telling me is that I don't need Viagra. All I need is someone to hit me in the kneecaps.
Yes, and threaten your life. And
you might have saved my marriage.
Now, we touched on Japanese films before, and I think we all share a fascination with the men in the rubber suits, the suit Masons, the people who were in the Godzilla costumes.
Oh yes.
Do you have any memories of those or any influence, or do you watch those now and have a different appreciation for what those actors were doing?
Oh, absolutely. It's the appreciation thing. Now, of course, I watched Godzilla when I was a kid.
Yay.
And that was another one of those TV black and white things because we had a black and white TV. I don't know. I don't know what.
Yeah, that kind of does it for you.
So I remember watching. In fact, when you're a kid and you combine words that you don't because you don't have a full understanding of a full vocabulary. So I remember thinking that God was Godzilla. Right? So when I
in your house, yeah, Sean.
Yeah, so somehow those words combined in my head. So I thought when we were talking about God that it was that thing I saw on TV, that big monster that was, tearing cities apart.
They have a lot in common. Always angry.
No.
In the Old Testament.
No. Okay, all right.
Fire breathing.
Yes, okay.
Impossible to stop.
Yeah. So then later. Now I'm actually if your listeners would enjoy this about monster acting, there is a documentary out there called Men in Suits, and this documentary is very thorough in talking about to people like me. And the original, there were several actors that did play Godzilla, but there's one of the older fellows,
Haruo Nakajima.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yes.
We've all met him.
Yes,
you have.
Yeah.
He's the biggest thrill.
Right, so he came to Monster Palooza.
That's right.
A couple
There you
years
go.
ago, and we did a panel. A lot of us that were interviewed in the documentary did a panel. So I met him for the first time. It was such an honor, and that was his first public appearance. He'd never done a convention before.
Wow, that's cool.
And the crowd went ape crap over him.
Yeah.
The roar was so huge when they introduced him that because he'd never made an appearance before, and
He's like Chaplin. He's like the Chaplin of monsters.
Well, think about it.
That's just it. That's
Godzilla
just
came
it.
out in Japan in 1954, then
Right.
in the United States in 56. I mean, he was the classic Godzilla.
he was, yes,
and played him and played him and played him.
For like 10, 15,
Yeah.
Sean, like 15
into
movies?
the 70s.
Yeah.
As well as
Yeah,
other
yeah,
giant
yeah.
monster characters.
I mean, Fred
too.
Astaire should have come out there. I mean, the same reaction. Or
I think part of the fascination is that he played him seriously in the first film, and then he went over, through the years, through all these variations where he became silly and he became
like breakdancing and whatever.
Well, look,
Still the same person in that rubber costume.
But that's a very good point of that he was like that takes a real actor to be able to okay, you need to play him straight. Now you need to play him silly, and to deliver every single
That
time.
he can do it. He can do the whole range.
Look,
Yeah.
people forget that's a costume that weighs nearly like 400 pounds.
That's
Yes.
just
Okay,
it.
and
Yes.
people, you joke about the guy in the rubber costume, but for him, he has to walk through water, or he has to walk through these crushed buildings that are
explosions
and
and
he has to move those shoulders and those hands and kind of move Godzilla's head, which is it's not really on his face; it's up above.
You're right. It's built on the top of his head and way.
Yeah.
And people forget about that.
Yeah.
and that with all that weight, how graceful.
Yeah.
When I see those movies as a kid and even now, I go, wow, he made that thing come alive. That is not a suit to me.
No.
That's a character.
See, to me, it's the same way. I mean, actually, to me, it's like Godzilla is alive
right.
and breathing.
Right.
It's part of
Yeah.
it. It's a character.
Although sometimes I wonder if the limitations actually lend themselves to, they help to create the character, like you were mentioning before.
right,
like
right.
The weight of that costume. I mean, maybe he was just walking that way because there was no other way he could walk.
right, it's possible too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
It's
yeah.
it's this is the job. This is what I'm dealing with, and let's bring as much life to this as I can.
But remember, I heard that he had actually gone to the zoo and he watched certain animals moving or something like that, and he brought that to his portrayal of Godzilla.
Speaking of the zoo, that was a note I got from Guillermo Del Toro for Pan's Labyrinth. When playing the fawn, he said the only note I got from him about physicality for the fawn was number one, that I was going to be aging backwards in the movie. If you go back to look at Pan's Labyrinth, from the first time you see me to the last time you see me in the movie, I have gone from old and decrepit to young and luscious.
Very luscious.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
but it's subtle. I mean, I'm a bit grayer in color. My eyes are a little bit more cataracty looking, and one of my horns is kind of eaten away, and I'm a bit more rickety in my movement. And by the end, I'm more auburn colored, and my eyes are clear, and I'm more fluid. So that was a note. But the other note was to Dog, I want you to study the back end of barn animals.
He said the back.
Not for this movie.
Wait,
Not for this movie.
Wait, the back end
For my own research.
The hind quarter.
By the way, I think if you ever have to do looping for Guillermo del Toro, you have to.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
You'll actually end up playing him in the movie that he's in.
Right.
Poetic justice.
But he wanted me to look at the way the hind quarter. How do their legs move? How do their hoofs meet the ground? How do they shake flies off? Those kind of things. So
that's cool.
So I did incorporate a couple fly shake-offs in Pan's Labyrinth.
Did he do this when you were at the zoo? All of a sudden you're watching an animal and then you just hear his voice go, "Do that!"
Yeah, I like that.
I like that!
Right, exactly.
Well, Doug, I wanted to ask you about we were talking about Universal monsters in the 30s and 40s, suitmation with Godzilla, but a lot of stuff now with technology. There's this other level or this other area of monster acting, which I want to know how you feel about, which is it's the whole CGI, it's the whole motion capture thing. I mean, Andy Serkis playing King Kong and Caesar in the Planet of the Apes films and Gollum. I mean, that's another type of monster acting, but it's very different though from being in a suit. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
It's different Andy Serkis and I have both answered this question in various interviews, and we both have the same answer. Is that I've never done motion capture myself. He has done a lot of it, and so he'll tell you that we're doing the same job basically. We're still affecting a character. We're taking on and maybe an animal man hybrid. Maybe we're taking on like an otherworldly creature of some sort. And but my makeup goes on before they roll, and his goes on after. That's the only difference, right? Is that
Right.
Yeah.
He does a performance, and they add to it later. My makeup goes on ahead of time. So I admire his work so much. Yeah, he's fascinatingly wonderful.
It is. He is great, and I love those roles, and I love those movies.
Yes.
But there is something, just like when people try to compare old style special effects to special effects now. Like, for example, right now, if we want to do a dinosaur movie, then we do CGI and a guy in a room, punches in some numbers into a computer and then comes up with a dinosaur. But you have to give some credit to the guy who, way back when, put on some gloves, grabbed a baby alligator and crazy glued a dinosaur fin to its back.
Oh, you're talking.
You know what I mean?
Some of the Irwin Allen.
Yeah,
films.
you know what I mean. And like, there's something to be said for. And for me, like as much as I love the motion capture stuff, there's something that's so true and real about somebody in a costume bringing a character to life.
Yeah.
As much as I love Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and all that kind of stuff. When I look at a CG character, I'm always aware that it's a CG character.
Yeah.
When I look at Hellboy and Abe Sapien, I look at those characters as, those are real. Those are real guys that walked onto the set.
And the Hellboy movies actually, I think, are some of the best examples of a good balance of CGI and practical effects, I think.
He does that very well.
Right, exactly. And that's so to answer your question, I think that for me, as an audience member myself, I like to watch other people on film. I like to watch a performance that I can see in front of me and go, "Oh, that guy's great." I hear that from all the fans in the conventions too. It's like they tend to prefer practical over VFX, but when there's a hybrid and both mediums can be used together in concert with each other, that's when you've got gorgeous going on. So as the Abe Sapien character, my eyes blinked with CG because they didn't have enough room in the mask to build in mechanics in the eye area. So blink, look, and some brow expression is added in later, but subtly and beautifully.
Right.
Fine,
Right.
yeah. Perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a little hard with, you walk out of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and you want to say, wow, Caesar was great. Andy Serkis did a great job. And he did. But there's also 600 names in the credits.
Right.
It's true. In the digital unit.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
There's something really amazing about, again, you put some makeup on someone, amazing makeup, and to have someone not be intimidated by that makeup, but be able to incorporate that into their character and make it something new.
One of the things I love with classic makeups, I mean, the series is just classic Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
From 1968, and people, they look at that today, that ape makeup isn't that great. No, I disagree.
Amazing to this day.
And the funny thing about those actors, they had such great voices, and they had to move so well as apes, and they actually had their facial expressions. They had to do larger than life stuff to make their mouths move,
Right.
and I absolutely love watching classic Planet of the Apes, because to me, when I watch those guys, those are like real apes. Those are real apes.
And that was
Absolutely.
a big gamble. That was a major 20th Century Fox release. That was a big gamble for a studio to be releasing a movie like this with main characters in makeup like that. That was
And it was the makeup test with Edward G. Robinson
as Dr. Zayas.
as Dr. Zayas, and was it James Brolin and
Yeah, I think as Cornelius.
yeah, and that makeup test proved to them that this wouldn't be silly. That
John Chambers.
John Chambers.
And-
That John Chambers could pull this off and make it. You could sell this to an audience,
And it was so successful. I mean, you go on to do 5 movies. You go on to do the TV series. I mean, it was like an empire.
And the physicality of the actors who embodied the apes and moved a little bit like apes were evocative of primates, the way they walked, their arms swinging and all that. A little bit.
Totally.
No, there's a lot of, especially in the very first movie, you see way more of them trying to incorporate ape movements, the way that their hands, like the very first scene when you see one of the ape surgeons grabbing a knife, and it's very much like you would think a chimpanzee would grab a knife. And, really amazing. Yet another character that I love, and maybe I would say, maybe kind of a flawed movie, but one of the things that I love you in is the Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four.
Another hybrid of
Fantastic
CG
Four, right.
and practical as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But in that movie, what I am amazed at and what brings me in when I'm watching that movie is when now I recognize CGI and I recognize all that, and I liked it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But when you are the Silver Surfer, immediately I'm like, okay, that's a character now. That's a real character, and I feel the pathos of that character because I'm a giant Silver Surfer fan from the comic books, and one of the most tragic characters, and I think any comic book fan would agree, is the Silver Surfer, who is lost his planet, lost his love,
like a
lost
slave,
everything,
right? He's like a
and now
slave
he's
to-
stuck on Earth in this civilization that only hates him because he's different, and there's just so much going on. And in that movie, when I watch you, when it's you
Yeah.
I see that in your eyes.
Oh, thank you. Well, that was for those who don't know what Matt's talking about. Yeah, and they changed the lore for the movie a little bit, being the power coming from his board instead of just the cosmic power being in his being.
Right.
But he got separated from his board in the movie, and that's when I went tarnished. And when I went tarnished and lost my silver luster, that's when the CG coating went away from me, and then you just saw me in the practical makeup bodysuit and glued-on mask. And I thought that was you're right. That was my favorite section of the movie when
It's the best part of the movie.
when the CG went away from me, and,
Yeah.
and it was like, oh, then now you can see, you can connect with him better.
It has that for me, like that. Those scenes in the movie have elements of a sort of homage to like the original Frankenstein. That this guy is misunderstood.
Right, exactly. Again,
And
sympathetic.
and
Did you have to prepare for that role in particular? Were you familiar with-
Yes.
Yeah.
That was another preparation
Yeah.
story. Because me, you've watched me talk today with my hands flying all over the room.
Yeah.
ow.
Yeah.
Right.
That's okay.
But I'm one of those people who needs to express, and I I need to push it out of myself. I want to make sure that everybody understands what I'm saying.
Right.
So to play the Silver Surfer, who is understated and has this ultimate strength about him. He's got the power cosmic, for crying out loud, and he doesn't have a thing to prove to anybody. He does not need to flap his hands around ever.
Right.
And so me being a hand flapper, that was to throttle back my instincts of like,
The Charlie Callis Silver Surfer.
That's Charles Nelson Riley. More
and Paul Lynde. Yes.
Silver Surfer for the Secret Square.
No, but that's part of what makes him so damn cool is that he's so understated.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. So that was the biggest challenge for me was trusting that less was more, and so I did have to find his inner strength and find his. I had to strengthen my core muscles to make sure my posture was as athletic and as straight up and down as possible, and keeping my shoulders as broad as possible. And of course, now the sculpture that went on to me, the bodysuit was glorious. That's the most beautiful body I've ever had in my life. I had a great ass. But unfortunately,
I don't know what you're talking about.
I had to hand it back at the end of the day. But
Bye, ass.
You didn't get to wear that one home?
no,
Hey, honey,
Look what happened to me.
I suddenly got in shape.
I know, right? You don't need the gym when you got friends and glue.
I know, really. Wow. That could be the best anniversary for me ever.
Right?
Hey, Greg Nicotero, listen. I need a favor.
Yeah, so that was he was glorious to try and channel. And again, that was another backstory, looking at the original artwork that Jack Kirby did, and Stanley's writing was so poetic and beautiful. And Stan Lee, I've met him several times now after I played that character. I actually even presented him with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Jules Verne Film Festival one year.
Awesome.
Wow.
Wonderful honor for me. And so to meet him and to hear him tell me personally that the rumors are true, that the Silver Surfer is his favorite character he ever created, was because that's the character he could wax poetic through, that he could talk about the human condition, talk about Earth, talk about what we're doing to our planet and how we disrespect each other and our environment, and through the eyes of a visitor from another planet.
Yeah.
So Stan, oh gosh, so to read his poetry and to see Jack Kirby's beautiful balletic yet strong artwork was, taking one pose to another and finding a movement that connects them all was my job. That was the job I had ahead of me, which was no easy task. Knowing that there were purist fans out there
Right.
who would be
A
watching,
legendary character.
who would be watching my every move
Yep.
and wanting to make sure
Watching your ass very carefully.
very carefully. Yeah,
That was Matt. Yeah.
No, I went to the movie going, they better get the ass right, or else I'm out of here. I'm done. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm hoping that there's some amount of talk about, or that you've had some meetings of, there's got to be a Silver Surfer movie.
There was a lot of talk. In fact, when I did the Fantastic Four sequel, I did that with a 3-picture option contract.
Wow.
So there was talk and plans to carry me on into my own franchise. but that was 2007, and so it's been a while.
But there's now the whole, sort of Marvel renaissance.
Now that Marvel is ruling the entire universe.
And now that you've got Thanos and everybody else sort of introduced in the Avengers movies.
Right. Well, that would be great. However, with this Fantastic Four reboot that's out there now, it's sore. I don't know that they would come back to the guy who played the Silver Surfer in the last franchise. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't know. I don't know that they would. I don't know.
Unless everybody writes a lot of letters.
Sure.
Maybe instead of listening to this, you need to go and get on your computer and email the hell out of Marvel overlords or whatever their email is.
I think 20th Central Fox still has that part of the Marvel world. Yeah.
We'll sort this out.
So, you guys go get them.
Yeah. There is not a film company that won't take our calls at this point. We have a lot of pull in this town.
We do. We really do.
Yeah. Well, this has been great.
This has been fantastic.
Oh, you crazy kids! Well, you know what? Can I pitch and?
We were just about to ask you that to do that.
What does Peggy have coming?
Plug.
Are you going to do Mac the Knife again? That's
Mac the Knife.
Mac the Knife.
Mac the Knife.
That's my big announcement. No. I just finished the final season of Falling Skies, filming, which will be airing this summer on TNT.
Nice.
Starting in June, I play the alien Cochise on that. I'm the leader of the Volm race of aliens. We're the good aliens who have come to Earth to help the humans fight back the bad aliens who have taken over in this post-apocalyptic world.
I knew you'd be a good alien.
Yeah, I it's going to be a great final season. We knew going in that it was our final season, so the writers could wrap it
build
up.
up to it correctly.
Exactly.
Yeah,
great.
So season 5 will start airing in June and take us into August. So enjoy this summer on TNT Sunday nights. 10 o'clock. Okay.
Awesome.
We will.
9 Central. And, yes. And I also just finished 2. I was in the Strain TV series on the FX channel, also Sunday nights, starting in July. I will be season 2, and at the end of season 1, there was a teaser, like sort of not a cameo appearance of the ancients in this vampire lore story. And I was the leader of the ancients. We were just introduced, but you didn't see much of us. And the idea was, we're going to see more of them. So season 2 opens with some ancient
action.
It's a gruesome scene. The ancient action.
Old people fighting always makes me happy.
Right. No. So I ended up doing 2 episodes this season so far, or for season 2, and then a third one probably I'll be filming maybe in April.
Fantastic.
And now here's what I'm really excited about. So I've been asked before. You've played so many characters, Doug, over the years. Is there any kind of a creature you haven't played yet that you'd love to? My answer has always been I would love to play a classic vampire with a fangy kind, maybe in black and white even, to revisit like an old school style of filming. And the one that I would love to play was the original, Nosferatu. Well, guess what?
Perfect.
Wait, what?
Well, let me tell you. So I did a film director named David Lee Fisher a few years ago, back in 2005. We did a movie together called The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, 2005.
Yes.
Yes.
So it was a remix, he called it. He didn't call it a remake because he filmed all of us on green screen. He made it into a talkie, so it had dialogue, but we filmed in black and white on green screen, and he plopped us into the original film footage by creating matte shots off of the original film. And so we played in that original world from 1919, and it was just glorious. And it got a lot of awards. We got Best DVD of the Year at the Saturn Awards that year, blah, blah, blah. Well, so that same director is going to use that same process, only the technology is so much better now than it was in 2005.
Sure.
That he's going to be able to actually go into the scenes and do 3D and turn around and look at it. Right. So we're going to be doing that with Nosferatu.
That is great.
That is so cool.
And I'm playing Count Orlok, and they did a Kickstarter campaign to raise some money, so it's going to be on the low budge tip.
Sure.
But,
That's okay.
But that's got to be a creative dream come true, right?
Creative dream come true for me. Not just because if it was a big studio version of him, they would rewrite an entire new,
Right. Yeah.
Plus, they already did a version. Werner Herzog did.
Right.
Yeah.
In the
which is a good
70s.
version.
Which is not bad. Yeah. Yeah,
take,
but we did that.
Very
right,
different.
right. But we're going to go back to 1922, and we're going to play in that land. And he said, and David Lee Fisher, he says he might want to add some color, but if he does, it would be more like a vintage postcard color.
Like tinting.
Yeah, tinted.
Right.
Yeah.
But every time, but when you get to the castle and you finally meet Count Orlok in his Romanian home, that's when the colors go desaturated and it gets colder and
Great.
more black. So I'm
with love.
I'm goosebumpy excited about this.
So
one.
like channeling a little Max Shrek there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I we did a makeup test, and Mike Elizalde, who heads up the Spectral Motion shop that did Abe Sapien and the Silver Surfer, he did a test makeup on me for his own love of the Nosferatu character. Years ago, like maybe 4 years ago, we did a makeup test where he sculpted a Count Orlok on my life cast and said, "Hey, Doug, I did this thing in my garage. Would you want to try it on just for a test makeup?" So we did, took pictures, but it was like getting dressed up to a party and having nowhere to go, right?
Yeah.
With no party.
Yeah, that's Matt's life a lot. Yeah.
How do you know these things?
I know, Matt. I know.
Is that why you're wearing a sequin dress right now?
Look, I have to dress
Right.
in what's comfortable.
Yeah. But you do look good in strapless.
Thank you.
So anyway, but so when David Lee Fisher called me on the phone and said, I don't know, have you heard of? I don't know if you'd want to do this or not, because if you don't, then I'll scrap the idea. But would you ever want to play in Nosferatu? I'll be like, bah! Have you been reading my mail? So then I said, well, if you don't have a makeup artist yet, I got a guy, and we already did a test, and I would love to see that. So they met, they loved, so it's all coming together.
That's all. That's
So
fantastic.
is this something we can look forward to in, let's say, 2016? Or
I think 2016, right? Because we are probably going to be filming in either May or June of this year, 2015, and it will take him about a year. He's going to do a one-man show in the post-production,
Right.
so it's going to take him a while, which is what he did with Caligari. But hang tight, it'll happen.
That sounds so cool. I cannot
That's
wait for
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too. Very excited about it.
Well, thank you so much for making the Monster Party.
Yeah.
You're wonderful. And also, I should do a shout out to our listeners. Please, you can follow us on Twitter at Monster Party HQ and subscribe to us on YouTube at Monster Party TV. Also, like us on Facebook at Monster Party TV. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, please take a moment and write a review. We've had a lot of nice reviews recently, and believe me, it makes our
That's
day.
awesome.
Oh, and we just recently hit 500 likes on Facebook. Which is what they
big
tell me
deal.
is
Yeah,
that's a
it's a
milestone.
So,
And it's odd because I know that there are so many people out there who do like us that haven't done the little like thing. So you guys got to do
Yeah,
that.
like us. What the hell? It doesn't hurt.
And and write a review. I mean, it doesn't have to be positive. If there's something you don't
No,
like,
it has to be positive.
No, I want to know, Matt.
No, I don't wanna know.
I want to know if there's something that they disagree with, or
I want to
if they
live a lie.
If they think you're full of crap
No, I'm
or
sure-
something
I'm sure-
about
I'm
something
sure
that
there's-
you
That's
said.
really what you want to know.
I want to hear it too, because I'm sure there's a lot of things that Larry and Sean and Matt say that our listeners disagree with. So I want to hear that.
No, I don't. I think many of our viewers know what Star Trek is. Though.
I'm going to live it down.
And on that note,
Well,
Yes.
actually, if you don't mind, can I make a little plug here?
Sure.
Because I thought that maybe I should let people know that I used to do stand up a long time ago,
Long time ago.
and I still have a CD
Yeah?
that is available on CD Baby. If you go to that website, you can download or buy an actual physical copy of my CD, my comedy CD called Dead Funny.
cool.
And you know what? It makes a good gift. It makes an even better regift.
Yeah, and you know, so I got no. I've listened to it, and it's really funny. So
actually-
you did have me in stitches.
I think
so.
if you're a fan of Monster Party, you will definitely enjoy this CD.
Absolutely.
Well, oh, you guys.
You crazy.
All right. On that note,
Keep America strong.
watch monster acting movies.